Hi, my name is David Weaver. If you're watching this video, you're probably interested or considering being a candidate for office, and I wanted to share with you some of the decisions I made and the thought process and who I am and what I ran for. So again, David Weaver, I'm 53 years old. In 2018, I ran for Iowa House for District 47, which covers Boone and Greene counties. I'm a farmer. I've been a farmer since 2006, farming in the area, but we only actually moved to Boone County about 6 years ago. My wife and my daughter compose my family. My daughter is 7 years old. At the time, she was a kindergartner, and that's one of the things you really need to think about when you're running for office. So let me break this down and tell you the things that I considered when I was running for office. The first is you need to define your situation. Why are you considering this? Are you all in? Do you have the passion and the drive and the commitment and determination to be a candidate? That's really something that you need to answer for yourself. For me, in my particular instance, I felt a need because of collective bargaining. This was a law that was passed in 1970s with a bipartisan piece of legislation with a Republican governor. And in, I believe, 2016 or 2017, that legislation was decimated, in my opinion. And I couldn't abide by it in my state. So I decided I needed to run. That, at the core, was what convinced me that I needed to do something. As I came about that situation, I talked to different people. And I think the most important thing, if you have that drive and that passion, and it can come from a variety of different places. Two other candidates that I've seen running for president, Pete Buttigieg, I believe he has always been thinking about running for office. If you look at his background and what he's done, he has a variety of experiences. And I think he's always thought in the back of his mind he would be a candidate for office. Another person that I've met, Amy Klobuchar, if you listen to her and her story, she was a regular mom who had a situation in the hospital when she was pregnant and they delivered their baby. After 24 hours, she was kicked out of the hospital. She had probably no inclination that she would ever be a candidate for anything. But that situation, that instance of being kicked out of the hospital after 24 hours inspired her to get involved in politics. And you might find yourself, whether it's you've thought about doing it for years or one instance, that might be something that is making you think about running for office. The next thing you have to ask yourself, is your family all in? The people under your roof, will they support you? When you're home late at night or you're up early in the morning doing something other than the family activities that are the norm, how's that going to fly? Do they share your concerns about why you're running as a candidate? You will probably spend money that has been in your household that will go to the campaign, either in-kind contributions or some amount of money. And then your time. Your time is one of those things that you'll lose in the campaign. We made one of the first weekends that we were going to have a family activity with Family Christmas, and there was a political event, and I ended up going making a speech in Templeton, Iowa with a bunch of other candidates, but my family, my wife and my daughter, were in the eastern part of the state at Family Christmas. So those are the things you'll need to consider. The next is your place of work. Will that be supportive or not? I'm a self-employed farmer. I farm with my father, and my parents are all in as far as me being a candidate. So that helped. You will have to decide, how does work impact your ability to be a candidate? Another thing, do you have a plan? What are your resources? Take an honest look at what kind of person you are, your abilities, and how they can contribute to a campaign. For me personally, delegating is hard. I'm independent, but it is important as a candidate to delegate those things that other people can do. Managing the campaign is important. You will be in charge, but you will delegate things to other people. And you need to be good at that. You need to be honest if you're able to do that. Organizing. You will have multiple calendars. You will have a personal life, a professional life, and a political life. And that's something you'll need to get used to as well. I think the last thing for me for you to decide, How good are you at setting goals and reaching and attaining goals? You'll have daily, weekly, and monthly things that you are trying to accomplish. And how good are you at that now? If you're not good at it now, you probably won't be good at it as a candidate. The biggest thing I think after defining your situation is knowing your district and knowing your constituency. So how do you go about kind of determining those things? Do you have realistic goals and expectations? If you live in a Republican district and you're running as a Democratic candidate, it's going to be tough. So set realistic goals at the beginning. My personal experience was it's a Republican district, and the Republican candidate had a leg up for sure. But here's the other thing that you need to consider. When I first announced I was running against a Republican candidate who ran the chairmanship of the Judiciary Committee, had been reelected 4 times. The day after I announced, he was found driving under the influence with a weapon in his car. His career took a turn that he did not expect, and no one expected. You don't know until you get in what the situation will be. So don't tell yourself that this is impossible or I can't do this. If you really have a passion for doing this, you should really consider hard about stepping in and being a candidate. Situations always change. Does your passion and your commitment line up with your community? One of the tough things for me was I'm a farmer and I believe in education. Both of my elementary school and my high school, where I grew up and were located in the district, have both closed. What that tells me is many people have moved away. 30 years ago, there were a lot of farmers when I was growing up. There are fewer farmers in the community now. So me being pro-education and pro-farmer probably didn't help as much as my opponent, who was at the time an Army Ranger and a veteran and a member of the National Guard, where the district in the city of Boone, there is stationed a National Guard unit. So you need to really think about how does your community and your values and your experiences, how parallel do they run? The other thing you need to do is when you're going about making this decision, talk to as many current and former elected officials as possible. Mayors, city council members, county supervisors, current and former legislators, they will probably dissuade you from running because it's a very difficult and hard process. Don't be turned off. Keep up with them, ask them questions, ask them what it's like to be a candidate and what it takes to win. They will be very helpful in the end. The last sort of thing I think you need to consider, your personal situation is the first. The second is the constituency in the district and how your abilities line up with that. The third sort of area to consider is time and money. Being a candidate takes a serious commitment of time and money. When I ran, I was told, oh, you'll raise $50,000, $60,000 easy. Well, that turns out that's the case. It's not that hard to raise $50,000 or $60,000, but it takes organization and it takes effort. About a year ago at this time, I was in this very house, came over to an event called Flip It, hosted by a group who were trying to flip the Iowa House. And one of my first talks, a room full of people, 15, 20, 30 people I didn't know. And in the end of the night, we walked away with over $2,000. It can happen, but it's daunting and it's work. The other thing is time. You are committing yourself to a certain amount of time. Door knocking, parades, events, consider this your new hobby, is how I like to look at it. And like all hobbies, you can spend as much time and money as you want on your hobby. And if you love it, it will return tenfold. One of the things I think you need to consider is the amount of time you spend at home. Probably, and we did not do this, but I would very much encourage you to very seriously consider this, hire a lawn service, hire a cleaning service. That will be some of the best money you spend, because when you are home, you will be exhausted if you're doing it right. And here's some final thoughts. I was unsuccessful in my bid as a candidate, and we lost the election. We lost the election, but I do believe that the candidacy itself was very successful. And here's just an example. I've sat on panels with presidential candidates and United States senators. I spent a day with a candidate for Iowa Secretary of Agriculture. He worked in the Obama administration. One of the best days of my life was spending a day with him as we courted money. A few days ago, I met with a congressman from Silicon Valley. I got to do 3 parades with J.D. Scholten, which were just wonderful events. Just some of the best things that happened, I think, in a couple weeks. And this is from a candidate who lost, remember. In a couple weeks, I'll be introducing the governor of Montana, who's here in the state, when he comes to our local co-op. There are all kinds of opportunities and doors that have been opened to me, even though I was unsuccessful in winning the election. So those are all good things to consider. When you run your campaign, I think you need to decide, what kind of campaign will this be? Is this to win, or is this for my community? We ran a campaign that's about our community. We spent our money locally, and we were very, very proud at the end of the day of our campaign. My family, a couple stories. My daughter, when we drove by the Capitol, and we pointed out, my daughter's 7, and she loves castles and unicorns and all that fun stuff. At the end of the day, we drove by the Capitol, and we said, you know, if Daddy wins his election, he's going to work in that building. And I turned around, and my daughter's face glowed. I've never seen that face from my daughter when she thought Daddy was going to go work in a castle. It didn't work out, but she had a great time running the parades, and we talked, you know, just a few days ago, and she said, yeah, I really missed the parades. So it's okay if Dad's a candidate again someday in the future. And my wife, I know that she helped with scheduling. She was my treasurer, coordinating events, all kinds of things. And she is going to take a lot of those skills and confidence that she gained into a job here in the next probably 6 months or year. We both think that's going to happen. At the end of the day, this is your campaign. This is your name on the billboards. It's your name on the ballot. The decisions you will make will be yours. And I just want to share with you a couple things. The party was very helpful to me, and the leadership in the party was very helpful. But at the end of the day, everyone has their own agenda of what they are trying to do. And so when you're the candidate and you make the decisions, it will impact you, and you are the one that has to wake up and go to bed every night with those decisions. And 2 little stories. When I went and got my signatures, the state party wanted to make sure that I'd fill out the forms right, so we stopped by and we looked at the office, and they looked them up and down, and I looked them up and down, and we went to the Secretary of State's office, and immediately, boom, 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 they found several things wrong. What that told me was, at the end of the day, I'm responsible for everything that I do. I'll get help from the party. Everyone's looking out for me, but everyone in this arena is overworked and underpaid. And so at the end of the day, you take that responsibility. The second little aspect I want to share is this. When I had to send out campaign flyers, I was getting help from the state party. And they wanted me to send out some what I considered to be negative ads. I didn't think they portrayed my opponent in the best light, and maybe they were truthful, maybe they weren't. But I didn't like that characterization, and I didn't want to run what I would consider a dirty campaign. And so I had a conversation, and they wanted me to do this, and I said no. It was my campaign. And in the end, the state party respected me for it. Now, maybe they thought that I would have won had I done that. I don't know. But that's what you're going to have to decide. As a candidate, it's your campaign with your name and your ballot. So hopefully this has been helpful. I think all 39, one of the things you'll learn as a candidate is say please and thank you. I want to thank the group of all 39 and the people that helped me do this and helped me run. So thanks very much.